Hello and welcome to That Guy's a Maniac, the podcast. Today we continue our special, semi-regular, irregular feature cast we like to call Notebook with Missing Page. This is where we delve into the more conspiratorial or strange or offbeat lore fan theories. No, just fuck.
If you hadn't gone back, I would have noticed it. Lore fan.
Lore fan.
Lore fan.
Lore. Right, hang on. Let me finish it. Offbeat lore or fan theories that plague the gamersphere. Right. Okay. I said my piece. We've done our thing. We good?
Lore fan.
Oh, fuck you. Right. Fine. My name is. Oh God. I'm the guy that gets the coffee this week, Richie. And with me, as always, is Agent Farley, aka Kunzi11.
Do you believe in life after love?
And tell us, Farley, where else can we be found?
You can find our clandestine writings and photographings and recordings at That Guy Is a Maniac across the following socials: www.thatguys.co.uk, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, another one, Twitter.
So the usuals. Yeah. Cool. So, yeah. For those of you who missed our part 1, which is episode what, Farley?
Oh God, it's in the other part of my book. Hang on. Vamp for time. Episode 40. Feel something inside me say. Episode 40.
Episode 40.
Also called Notebook with Missing Page.
Alright, cool. That's handy for our listeners. So if you missed the first one of our irregular, semi-regular conspiratorial ramblings, we're continuing on today and we're going to be talking about a couple of games, and yeah, we're just going to talk about some of the weird, strange things that the fans have talked about, or they've made up their own little weird fan fictions for. So last week we spoke about Final Fantasy VIII, and that was the theory that Squall is dead, which is a theory we all really want. And what was it you talked about, Farley? The Pokemon multiverse?
The interdimensional cross-time happenings of the Pokemon game series.
Cool. And why don't you kick us off today, Farley, with what you're going to be blathering on about?
Okay, yes. As you said, in this series, we like to look at the intersection of where fanatic bands hit shitty video game writing and spin-off theories and obsess over canonicity sometimes in ways that the original creators, producers, developers of games way more effort into the care they put into it. And this week I wanted to talk about very obscure Japanese game. Probably most people have not played it. You can only play it on import. Series, in fact, and that series is Resident Evil.
Oh, I think there's some people that do some blogs around that that series.
Yeah, it's a particularly obscure, quirky series of games. But
yep.
Actually, this is timely because in the teaser trailers for Resident Evil 8, The Village, or however that's going to be titled, they reveal something that has got the Resident Evil fans going crazy again over...
Is it the great big tall lady?
No, it's not the tall, big-titted vampire lady. It's a character that you see in the trailer. And I guess Resident Evil is slightly different in that there isn't really to the games we've talked about before, because there isn't really some kind of dark, hidden subtext within Resident Evil games and their overarching storyline. It's more the frustrating but sometimes wonderful way in which the various curators of the series, it's clear they just don't give a shit about the canon of Resident Evil. Right?
No, absolutely not. It's just like, right, where are we going to set this gate? All right, okay. And what were the previous things? Was viruses? No, we're not going to bother with viruses. We're going to call it parasites. All right, fine, whatever.
Yeah, and so there's a lot. I mean, it's somewhat. If you're looking back, and I don't, there's probably young kids who haven't grown up with Resident Evil. This Resident Evil series, when 6 came out when I was growing up. I'm going to go right back to the beginning. I think you'd be really surprised that that game, the original Resident Evil, spawned tens of different games, and is one of those ones that's up there in terms of visibility and games that people really love and enjoy, as we do. It's kind of surprising, and it must have been a confluence of when it came out and that this game has been so successful and turned into a successful series. And part of the interesting thing about the storyline, I guess, is that it has been retold and remixed so many times. So just looking at the original Resident Evil, for example, and not including ports because these have been ported everywhere. We have the original Resident Evil, then we have the Resident Evil Director's Cut, then we have Director's Cut Dual Shock version, which is the one with the famously weird soundtrack. I don't know if you've ever come across that.
I think I have the Dual Shock version.
For whatever reason, they redid the soundtrack, and there's an interesting story behind the guy who was supposed to have composed it, and he was supposed to be deaf. But then it turned out he wasn't deaf, and somebody else wrote it. Anyway, dig up a Let's Play, or in fact, if you have it, just play it. But that kind of really atmospheric music in the mansion. You've got the kind of type noises as you're walking through. Really kind of heightens the tension. In Director's Cut Dual Shock, it is replaced by just completely out of place. Like trumpets, completely any kind of atmosphere killing. Anyway, interesting. But so that's why I kind of would include that as not just a port. Then you've got the Resident Evil 1 remake
for the GameCube initially.
For the GameCube initially, I think there are some slight differences in between different versions and updated versions after that. Then of course they retell the whole. Parts of the whole series through some of the Gun Survivor games. So Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles is yet another version of the Resident Evil remake as you play through those. And from the off, I think with Resident Evil, because the story is told through so many different ways, there has never been a canon, right? So between Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2, if you took, I guess Resident Evil 2, 3, 4, etc. So the Resident Evil 1 incident, Star's team goes in, gets split up, killed, etc. Rebecca has a hell of an evening. Then the other team comes in and finds some of the remaining Stars members, etc. In the games following that, the kind of canon ending to Resident Evil 1 should be that Jill, Chris, Barry, Rebecca, and Wesker survived. Right? Those all feature in later games and the CG films, etc. But you cannot get that ending in Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, because what?
And it kind of covers some of the territory that we talked about before. Resident Evil has played with having things like A games and B games. And so, you could argue, is Leon A canon? Is Claire A canon? But yeah, so off the bat, we're on the bad foot because the kind of in-game canon is an ending you cannot achieve by playing Resident Evil, or even if you stretch the imagination as to these characters must have escaped.
Like Barry and Wesker, maybe they floated off somewhere by themselves,
Yeah, but you can't get out of the mansion. With all of them, or you don't see all of them kind of escape.
Yeah, you don't see all of them, but like Barry, like you could do the whole saving Chris. Oh, but then you don't know what happens to Rebecca.
Yeah, you can never get Rebecca and Jill together.
Why not? If you do the game with Chris, you can save Chris and Jill. Jill and Rebecca.
Jill and Rebecca.
And then you could just imagine that Barry and Wesker did their own thing. I mean, Wesker... I know.
Wesker's like, I know you turned your back on me, but I'll give you a lift in my helicopter.
Yeah, I'll take you home to your wife and daughter. I'll start the whole blackmailing thing. Yeah.
I'll do you a solid. So off the bat, we're off to a bad start, and that's before the kind of retellings and the remakes. Again, shout outs to the fan communities who pore over these details and the arbitrary committee of people who decide what is and what isn't canon. With Resident Evil, it's particularly tricky to try and work out what the true path might be, which is why the Resident Evil Village trailer kind of confirms a canonicity of one of the endings of 7. But across various Resident Evil games, you've got things like whole A and B campaigns and scenarios where you play the same game through completely different perspectives, but with different choices, different characters.
Yeah,
famous. Yeah,
in the A scenarios, you get the mega evolutions, but in the B scenarios,
So actually, Leon and Claire, they hit that wall so hard, they actually split into different timelines.
Disc A and Disc B, straight up's got a lot to say for itself, because that split a whole universe, man. Yeah. Okay.
There's also a third universe where they're already zombies, and there's an unreleased C game where zombie Leon climbs into the back of that car, and you see him in the intro to the original Resident Evil 2.
But he manages to go back in time as well.
Yeah, and change his clothes.
Yeah.
So not only have you got A and B games, there's also famously multiple endings: good endings, bad endings, silly endings. Then you got the remakes, then you got the reimaginings, then you got the ports, then you got the mobile games, AR games, and then you've got crazy things. So I never knew this. So that there's, I guess you've got the main series numbered Resident Evil games, which also includes Code Veronica and the Revelations, which just randomly sit in the middle of those. Then there's a bunch of light gun games. Then there's they didn't do very well, shitty squad type shooter online games. Things like Operation Raccoon City.
Which is available on Steam.
Resistance.
There's a big old Capcom sale going on at the moment because of the Resident Evil 8 announcement. And I thought, there's Operation Raccoon City. I didn't even know that people would still play that.
Well, some people. I think the problem with Operation Raccoon City, and this is nothing revelatory here, because from the moment they announced it,
Resident Evil Revelations.
No, Resident Evil
Revolutions.
Operation Raccoon City. From the moment they announced it, everyone was like, why on earth is Resident Evil trying to compete with squad-based shooters, which is all the rage at the time. But the story mode in it, you can, spoilers for Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City if you've just bought in the Steam sale, so please don't listen for the next minute. You can kill Leon and Claire in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's a whole bit where you get to choose to spare them or save them.
Then is that when Leon goes back in time and becomes a zombie?
This is the fourth dimension, Leon, where
D scenario.
D scenario. No, D scenario is very different and X-rated.
Yeah,
E scenario.
I heard myself say it. About
Yeah,
D scenario.
yeah. We're gonna go there.
Yeah. No.
E scenario is where, in the background of Resident Evil 2, there is a mediocre squad-based shooter happening across Raccoon City. in the background at the same time, and this is I'll come on to it. So yeah, the light gun games, which for the most part are kind of their own thing or set on an island. But an interesting thing about Gun Survivor 2 Code Veronica that I found out whilst researching this is that whole game. Yeah, I might have mentioned it on the podcast. I hope I didn't. That whole game is Claire's dream.
Oh.
As she's in the plane with Steve at the end of Code Veronica, and the fans say, "Well, that's canon. That's harmless canon." So yeah, the game is canon, but it's canon as Claire's dream.
Yeah, but is Claire being rescued canon?
Oh, it depends. Also,
Yeah.
I think you find out that it's a dream in a file that's in the game, which is strange because then there's a file about the dream inside the dream. Who knows? Let's not think about Gun Survivor 2 too hard. But one of the things. So after Resident Evil 1, which you've got the mansion going on, then we've got Resident Evil 2, where we go to Raccoon City, which I think is a video game setting that both you and I love and adore. And that's one of the wonderful things about the game is you get to see different parts of Raccoon City. But because subsequent games have taken part there or been remade there, you've actually got you end up with a shitload of stuff happening in Raccoon City at the same time, including I was trying to count it out, including like at some point you've got 6 different viruses going around, depending on with the canon you believe in terms of who's infected with what and who's caused what else.
Do you know what this sounds like? This sounds like in Avengers when they finally clock on. Oh, wait a minute. 3 of the stones are in New York at exactly the same time. Yeah,
exactly. You know, if Hunk had his act together, he could have filled multiple suitcases with different viruses. Because you've got William Birkin running around, you've got the Nemesis Project running around, you've got Wesker running around. He's got some mystery virus injected into him at the same time, as well as various strains of the T virus. It turns out to create all the different animals, all the different enemies. Going back slightly, sorry, I skipped something. With the various retellings of Resident Evil, you've got Paul. I can't remember his surname. You know Richard, who throws himself in front of the snake.
Oh, yeah.
To save Rebecca.
Yeah.
And then Jill. Yeah. So there's a reading of that night where he's just throwing himself in front of snakes all night long. I think it's in the remake that he gets bitten trying to save Rebecca, and then Jill comes along, and then he also throws himself in front of the snake to save himself from Jill. So poor old.
Was it not Enrique?
No, Enrique's all the way. This is so boring if you don't know Resident Evil. Enrique's back in the garden house, right in the bottom.
Yeah, but was it the spider then that got him? Did he not like?
No, he gets shot by Wesker or Barry.
Oh yeah. Okay, never mind.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers for half the versions of Resident Evil 1.
Yeah. By the way, Barry's working for Wesker.
Spoilers.
For that 20-year-old game.
Yeah, that you've had more than enough opportunity to play.
25-year-old game. Fuck.
Then they obviously hit success with the first Resident Evil, and then made no effort to change it up at all. So just in terms, we've got Umbrella Inc., which eventually disappears. You've got Blue Umbrella, which is made up of the remnants of Umbrella. You've got Tricell. You've got the Organization and the Connections. So these are all the shady, dark, mysterious type companies. Then you've got STARS, the BSAA, the FBC, Blue Umbrella. Oh, and I forgot to say, this week's episode of the podcast is sponsored by TerraSave.
Oh, shit. That's my fault. Entirely my fault for not giving you that.
TerraSave is a NGO human rights agency, and this is literally their logo. TerraSave, because tear doesn't have to end with wrist.
As in tear or wrist?
Terrorist is at the beginning of Revelations 2. Watch the intro to the Revelations 2. It's hilarious. I forget how it starts every time, and it makes me chuckle all the time. So yeah. So thanks, TerraSave, for sponsoring the podcast.
Yeah, cheers, TerraSave.
So you just got these, ridiculous goodie organizations with acronyms, and then you've got the baddie organizations which are just called the Organization and the Connections at various points in the story.
So weird sub thing to this. I knew that there's actually a funny moment in. Do you know that gacha game that I play?
Cross-boring.
Fuck off, you knobbend. It's not even a fucking gacha game. That's what kills me so much. But yeah, Project Cross Zone 2. There is a point where Jill and Chris are one of the team members that you meet up with, and Nemesis meets up with him, and he's like, "Stairs." Cue getting fucking Nemesis back in again. And then they're like, yeah, we're not part of STARS, we're part of BSAA now. And so you just see him going, BSAA, and like, 'cause it's like on the screen, it's like it's so weird.
Bizarre.
But yeah, good beats.
As I mentioned, you've also got so many viruses, but not only have you got so many viruses, you've got so many people injecting themselves or accidentally getting infected or injecting their what do you call it, conspirators.
Would you say there's also variants of the virus as well?
Yeah. I mean, I started making a list and then I lost the will to live. So you've got the progenitor virus, which is the leeches. Then you've got the epsilon virus, which is a T virus precursor. And then this is because of these reimaginings and layering on to this fairly, creaky story in the beginning. You then end up with various. So you've got the epsilon strain of the T virus, I think. You've got T Phobos and T Abyss. T Phobos is the one that triggers when you are afraid. T Abyss is the one that makes you look like a sea creature. Ouroboros, Los Plagas. You've got the E virus. You've got the mold.
I'm running out of the will to live here.
Exactly.
Which one is the one in Resident Evil 4 with the headbusters?
Las Plagas.
Las Plagas. And is that a virus or is it?
I think it's a virus born of a parasite, I think, or virus modified parasites.
Yeah. Okay.
You've also got T Veronica.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the good old G virus, and then various mysterious ones. And then here's a small short list of people who have injected themselves with their own viruses or other viruses. So you've got Alexia and what's his name?
Alfred. Yep.
Who inject their dad with a virus and kill him, and then she injects herself with a virus and goes away for 14 years. And you've got Marcus, who gets his dead body gets his own virus in his mouth that revives him. Birkin injects himself with the G virus. Birkin injects Wesker with that mystery virus that gives him red eyes and punches you in the face really hard. Jill ends up with the T virus, which is why weird things happen to her in Resident Evil 5 from the mansion incident.
But she also gets the virus in Resident Evil 3 as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so
Yeah.
is it from 3? I think it's from 3 that.
Yeah, because she like gets knocked out for a little bit, and
Yeah.
what's his face? Mophead needs to go and get the.
I bought the skin, I bought the skin. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle Carlos's ridiculous hair. It was clear. I don't know. There was something bad about it. It's like it clearly just didn't match his model. Then Sherry has the G virus. She doesn't. You don't. It's suppressed. All these people got suppressed viruses, and then various people get injected with the Ouroboros virus. So yeah, kind of silly. And you think, if you were in the biohazard, bioweapon industry in this universe, you'd be like, I'm not going anywhere near my own creation, because I know at some point, either in anger or frustration or because I'm dying, I'm going to end up injecting myself with the virus, and then have that moment where I go, it's powerful, so much power, and then tentacles and eyeballs start coming out my arms.
Yep. Okay.
And that's it. Oh, there's also the T. Cameron virus.
The T. Cameron virus.
Yeah.
Is that where you do a coalition with T. Clegg?
Politics. That's the virus in the Resident Evil 4D Executor, which is like a theme park ride where they blow steam in your face and rock your chair.
Right. Okay.
And if you're infected with it, I think Dr. Cameron ends up injecting herself with it.
And then the power, and then eyeballs and tentacles.
No, it gives you the power. It's basically like Mario's hat in Odyssey.
All right, it gives you the power to take over other people's brains.
Yeah, you can transfer your consciousness to somebody else.
Wow, and that's canon.
There's a lot of people are like, I don't at this point. Although we accept a lot of shit in the Resident Evil canon, we're not accepting a fairground ride into the canon. Yeah, but there is a lot that. Sorry, go on.
There's someone else I know who's taken some virus as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Somebody I know who went to Japan and went to the Capcom restaurant.
That's true. Yeah, I went to the Capcom cafe, which was super fun. And we ordered mostly Resident Evil themed things.
You got Ebony and Ivory as well from Devil May Cry.
From Devil May Cry, and it was very fun. And it was just when Resident Evil 7 was coming out, so they had like a VR headset set up.
Oh man, of all the games you want in VR, it is not Resident Evil 7, man.
Do you know, of all the games you want in VR after you've just eaten nice, but like really rich food, like it's really rich food, to give it the consistency so you can shape it into, William Birkin's eyeball arm or some pancake with the Resident Evil 7 logo on it. So yeah, I did not feel well the whole rest of the day. So it's a really miserable day in Japan, where I remember we went to Muji afterwards, and I just said to my wife, I was like, I really don't feel very well, and I just sat on the seats in Muji after we came out of the Capcom cafe, because running away from the what's the dad's name? I can't remember. Running away from the dad, in VR. But also because it was in the cafe, you're sort of on display, and as a quite tall white man, I believe everyone was laughing at me as I was frantically running away. Exactly, they were all literally laughing at me, and then I felt rough. But yeah, special memories of Biohazard 7 and the Capcom cafe. And we also had T-Virus cocktails at the loading bar, did we not?
I don't think I've ever been to the... Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah?
Is that... I don't think we've been at the loading bar.
When it was in London. Yeah, we went to loading bar.
You and I?
Yes. In a little toy shop. What a bag of balloons. No, yeah, we went together. And we drank cocktails and we played Mario Kart on the SNES.
And was it in Soho?
Yes.
Okay, then yes. No, I remember it now.
I don't think
because it had a little sort. It had a sort of cafe, normal cafe, and then at the back it was the loading bar, and there was like people who were playing Magic, and there was a SNES set up and stuff like that.
Yes, and we were wondering about the economics of people who had clearly bought one drink and had been sitting there for 5 hours, playing all the way through Final Fantasy 4.
Yeah. But it was tiny. I mean, it really was tiny. It was not.
No. Anyway, that we definitely had a T virus or a G virus there as well.
Definitely. There's no reason we wouldn't.
No.
Yeah.
So I've got multiple. A bit like Jill Valentine, who I do is my hero, and I model myself after, in that I am carrying at least the T and G virus.
At any one given time.
Yeah.
But you're suppressing it.
Yes, I'm suppressed it because that famous microbiologist Carlos managed to source one in a hospital that we were banged up in. And then of course you've got the remakes, and which just if any shred of a sensible storyline was left, just got almost completely pissed all over by the events of the remakes, which really shake up some of the stuff that happens and cuts out areas. And famously, Nemesis becomes a dog, which is one of your favourite things.
Yeah, and also, we kind of haven't touched on it, but the films, are they canon in any fashion?
The 3/4? How many are there?
I'm talking about the ones with Mila Jovovich and...
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But the CG ones are, and there's a new one coming to Netflix soon, which I'm excited about. I don't know why I'm excited about it. We have this discussion every time. We get excited about it. You watch it, there's 2 good scenes, the rest is either really boring and just make Leon and Claire kiss.
I think I've seen the first 15 minutes of Damnation, I think it is, and I was like, I think I can go on with the rest of my life without seeing the rest of this film. But you persevered.
I persevered, yeah. And there are some fantastic bits in some of them. So at one point, there's like some tyrant who's throwing tanks at Leon, and it's great. But yeah, the other bits, basically the other bits, just straight up throwing tanks at Leon. The other bits are like boring cutscenes, boring walk and talk cutscenes. So there's the basically you can divide the films into the cool action scenes and the bits where Leon and Claire aren't kissing, and that's pretty much the films for you. Hopefully, the new Netflix film, we'll see them get together finally.
Oh yeah, because they've got this new Resident Evil reboot thing that they're trying to do.
Yeah, but they always tell. I mean, I've not even. So they are canon, and it kind of gets silly, right? So it's silly anyway, in that we're following what is essentially less than a dozen characters around, and they seem to either the most unluckiest people alive, or just harbingers of death and destruction.
Yeah, they're storm seekers. They're like a perfect,
Yeah.
Where the fuck are these zombies? Right, I'm gonna run in and not wear enough clothes.
Yeah. Oh, there's a scientist. Oh, it's gotten out.
I don't have any ammo, but it's alright. I'll find some lying around.
Good job. This universally planted medicinal herb is everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, when you throw the films into the mix as well, and look at Leon Kennedy's career. It's like, first day on the job, Raccoon City was destroyed and he escaped. Then he becomes the president's daughter's
bodyguard. Yeah.
Bodyguard. She gets kidnapped and infected with viruses. Then he goes, I think in one of them he's just a drunk, or is Chris just a drunk? And then there's a big virus and a big, just everywhere they go. I'd be worried about, if you were...
No wonder they don't have friends.
Yeah, like if you saw Leon down at Tesco's, you'd be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, no.
I'm in the intro to a Resident Evil game, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And seconds later, there's a woman walking down the aisle, and someone will go up to her and go, oh, what's up with this woman? Stop! Excuse me! And then, before you know.
And then there's a hunter breaks through the nappies and starts chucking baby powder at Leon's face. I don't know why.
Here you go, Resident Evil 9 coming to cinemas. Sometime soon.
So on a podcast, it's canon now, Farley.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, it's canon.
There we go.
Resident Evil Tesco.
Resident Evil, was a funny UK place. Resident Evil Dundee.
That is a funny name for a UK place. Resident Evil Skegness.
Resident Evil Skegness.
Resident Evil Bognor Regis.
There we go. Perfect.
There we go. Saw it. So yeah.
Yeah, that'd be hilarious. You could have like red coat zombies running around.
You'll have the townies.
Yeah.
Not knowing if they're zombies or not. Oh, look at me with my fucking cultural revolution.
Yeah, jeez. Poverty porn. Jeez.
Yeah. Ooh, class war, man.
Ooh, gentrification. Anyway, so that's it. I mean, it doesn't really... this series takes its name from a file in the Resident Evil games.
Oh, you fucking spoiler boy. Everybody's going to be so interested to find out where the name of our...
You're the one who's always going on about looking up the bell end, or whatever it is you say.
Looking up the bell end?
Yeah, revealing the bell end. This series is named after Resident Evil file. However, I think because there's so little care in the series, it resists all attempts to create some kind of alternate, consistent fan theory, because there are too many options for what could and couldn't have happened. And the next game will probably just screw up any canon theories that people believe.
Yep. Why wouldn't it?
I know. Well, that's what people got excited about the trailer already.
Okay.
And there is, I think, as I was reading it, there's again, fantastic communities that pull this together. There's a trailer for one of the games that is canon, but actually the game or that section never got released. I lost myself a bit in the research, but yeah. Canon in teaser trailers. What a world we live in. So Richie, what theories and conspiracies are you bringing us today?
Well, do you know what I feel we do not talk about enough of on this show?
Yeah.
So, I don't think we talk about a certain obscure game called World of Warcraft.
Right. Where's it off?
It is. It's on a very obscure system called the PC.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Also Mac as well. And it's actually quite an old game. It's from 2005, 2004. Yeah.
Retro. #retro games.
Retro. Oh god. It's like Richie and retro at the same time. Retro. Oh, fucking retro. Say the words, Richie. Yeah. So there's a bunch of lore and there's a bunch of creepy things and a bunch of Easter eggs that exist within World of Warcraft. The whole game is fucking massive. But there's some really creepy things in there. There's some really weird stuff in there. There's some cool stuff in there. And I just want to pick from a few of those really cool ones just to make everybody aware of their existence. I mean, I'm sure you can find a million more because the game is fucking huge. It borrows so much from every single pop culture reference you can think of. Very famously, there is a socialite in TBC who is called Harris Pilton, and we've got absolutely no idea who she could be based on. You know, and it's all that sort of stuff, and like they make so many nods to real world stuff that it makes it fun, and they do it in all Blizzard games. You know, like when you keep clicking on the orcs, or you keep on clicking on the peons or whatever, you know, you get all of these cultural references coming out as they say funny things, you know. And that's probably the best part of Warcraft 3. No? Just repeatedly clicking on the...
Yeah. I downloaded them all, and I don't know if any still exist. For a short while there was a fantastic sub-genre of video game music which liberally used all the StarCraft, Warcraft unit noises.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, for this segment, I just want to run through a few of my favourites, a few of the weirder ones that you may or may not have heard of, and definitely some of the creepier ones as well. So, starting off, we have, and this is actually quite appropriate because in Naxxramas, the latest raid that has come out, there is an enemy called Thaddeus, and he's in one of the wings, and he's basically a great big giant Frankenstein monster. But all the way up until you actually fight him, and if you leave him till last, this will be the entire, you know, raid as well, figuratively last. But yeah, you will hear like screams, and you'll hear like a woman shouting, "Help me, save me!" And as it turns out, this Frankenstein monster, who's huge, is actually made up of the women and children who were slaughtered in Warcraft 3. So like all of the villagers, and yeah, so basically this big Frankenstein monster man is just made up of the flesh of the innocents that went through there, and it's pretty disgusting. And yeah, so if you kill him off, you end up not hearing those screams anymore, and that's how people kind of click, oh shit, what was that? And then this lore sort of came out that he was actually just constructed from all of that mingingness, which is pretty creepy, you know?
So is it the same voice clips or what?
The same voice clips, what do you mean?
Is it voice clips from Warcraft 3?
What, in Warcraft? In general, yeah. Yeah. Like, you can still click on a peon and you'll get the whole, what you doing? Sorry,
but
I shouldn't do that voice.
Are those noises, was they the clips that were playing from the body?
No. That's just actually, this is an individual clip, a unique clip of just like this scream, and it's quite piercing and it's echoing, of just a woman just sort of saying, "Save me, help me." I'll see if I can dig out the sound file and I'll chuck it on. Good. And yeah, so that's just one weird kind of little bit of lore in there. I mean, it is quite grisly because like he's part of what's called the Construct Quarter, which is all. Do you remember the abominations in Warcraft 3? There were like these big fat naked things.
Yes, I do. Yeah,
with like 3 arms and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, the Construct Quarter is basically sort of Frankenstein-esque undead monsters that have been brought back to life in these big, and then the halls, and they're all boss characters. Like there's like a Frankenstein dog. There's a big abomination called Patchwork, and yeah, there's another one called Globulus, who's really freaky as well. He's basically got. Do you remember the Cenobites in Hellraiser?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
He reminds me of one of them, Grobulus, and he's got this sort of vacuum cleaner sucked to his face, so you can't see his face. He can't see anything, and he has these big injectors as well. So he's got like this thing attached to his face, and he's like infecting people as well with this big injecting needle and things like that. So
yeah, it looks like a cross between a Big Daddy and Bane from Batman.
Yeah, a little bit like Bane if everything was like, just like there was a funnel on his face as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, in general, that's quite a creepy place. And I mean, yeah, you've got the other quarters, which are like military, where it's all the Death Knights, and you get the Plague Quarter, which is just, a bunch of like sort of mouldy people. And then there's the Spider Quarter, because spiders are creepy. People don't like spiders. And that's it, really. But yeah, I always thought that Thaddeus was quite a weird one, and it's quite cool that whenever you kill him, you no longer get that sound clip playing in the entire raid. And it's because basically you've put to rest the souls of all the women and children, or at least until the next raid reset, so that you can go back and kill them again.
You've temporarily put them to rest until they respawn.
Until 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning, where everything resets. But yeah. On the note of other sort of creepy things, there's a really cool thing. This actually isn't in TBC, in Classic. I think this came in Cataclysm, which is one of the later expansions. There is 6 children who walk around, and at 7 a.m, they make the shape of a pentagram, and then they walk around the sort of area, never removing themselves. There's 6 children, so there's the 5 points of the star, and then there's one in the middle, and they never break formation. They just walk around in this pentagram, and then at 7:45, 45 minutes later, they go back to the room. And when you go back to the room, it's the only place in the entire area, which is like Elwyn Forest, so it's all nice and chirpy and all that sort of stuff. It's the only place in that area which gets this different music, and it gets all creepy and eerie, and you get whispers and you get screams. You get, like, again, back to Warcraft 3, you get the noise of the banshees. And you hear all these different things. You get Cthulhu talking at you as well, all this sort of stuff. And I mean, there's never been an explanation for that. It's just something that somebody put in that game. Just, there's these 6 kids, and they walk around, and then they go back to the room, and everything goes all creepy. Okay.
So what happens with these 6? Are they independently walking around, and then they meet up as...
No. They all walk around in the formation of a pentagram. Constantly.
Okay. And when do they appear?
They appear at 7 a.m.
And then they disappear at 7:45.
I don't think they disappear. They break formation at 7:45. So they're kind of... I think there's... it's 3 and 3, and they're just sort of facing each other. And then you get these sound samples playing in the inn.
Weird.
Yeah. Again, no explanation whatsoever.
Why that time?
There's nothing. That it wasn't like the mothers and children of the innocents or anything like that. It's just straight up. This is a weird, creepy thing.
What are they called? Is there a name? God. There must be a fan name for them.
No. They're actually just they've got like proper names like Terry and John, and I don't know why I chose those as proper names. Do you want a link to it or something like that?
No,
just look up Pentagram Kids.
Yeah, I just look at it. Yeah, their names are Dana, Aaron, Cameron. Maybe it's Dr. Cameron.
Oh,
from 4D Executor, who's transferred her consciousness into a human child. John, Jose and Lisa. Or Josie.
Got John right, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, and they just wander about, and then you get like whispers and all this sort of stuff. Really, and again, just zero explanation. Like, just straight up, people find this. Nobody's ever responded to say why it is or what it is. Or even like, is it like, are they making a little joke and it's like the creators' names or something like that? No. Just that is a thing that they have put in the game for shits and giggles.
Yeah. Apparently, it's Blizzard's Dungeon Department employees.
Really?
Yeah. Aaron Keller, Dana Jan, John Statz, Jose Alo Jr. and Cameron Lamprecht, along with Lisa, who was then the receptionist. They were added by the exterior level employees with which the Dungeon Department entertained a friendly rivalry. And this is notably why they made Dana's NPC a girl, because his first name sounded feminine, and why they added spooky sounds and evil references. There we go.
Alright, okay, well that's the explanation. I'm glad your 30 second of fucking research was more than mine.
Well, I've hit the dark web of this website called Wowpedia. I don't know if you've
Are you fucking kidding me? Right, okay.
And apparently they were never meant to walk in a pentagram, although I think this might be some backpedaling. It's just that's the function of the children being centered on Cameron.
Well, I don't know. I'll take that with a pinch of salt. I don't know what Wikipedia sources are. Salts?
Salts? Okay.
Alright. Another cool thing, and this is just a cool thing that I really like. And this is a character in Eastern Plaguelands who exists right at the top of the map.
That's the best part of the Plaguelands, by the way.
It is. Good
real estate.
And there's a road which just seems to lead into a sort of what's the word I'm looking for? A rockfall cave, and you can't get past it. You can't do anything. And his name is Adon, Adon, and he just stands there, doesn't do much. There's no quest for him, no anything like that. But what he signifies is that there will be the expansion, which is the Burning Crusade. And basically what happens is, right after the Burning Crusade opens up, that is where all the Blood Elves actually are. Their starting town is right behind the Eastern Plaguelands, and is where Adon is. And I think Adon gets turned into an NPC, like on a horse, who's actually a Blood Elf and is going up and down. So I always thought that was quite cool, that they just put this NPC in the middle of a place called Adon, which was eventually going to be, we'll do something with the expansion here. You know?
Yeah, I love those, particularly in games that weren't as successful as perhaps their creators had hoped. And so there's these little teaser areas of, here's where the expansion area will be. And then for one reason or another, it never happens. So you just end up with, mysterious out of place entrances or openings or different pieces of architecture that gamers go absolutely nuts for to try and work out.
Yeah.
No,
it's like, we were going to do a thing with this, but nah, it never happened.
Yeah, we had to shut the game down, so it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, back to other creepy things, and there's occasionally you'll sort of come across tents, like for camps of like gnolls or ogres or whatever in the game, and you'll find these tents that are sort of like this weird sort of patchwork, sort of tarps. But if you look closely, there actually is a face, like straight up in that patchwork, and then you just sort of start to click things together that this tarp is actually just made from someone's skin. And it's really, really, really minging. So they've made this sort of tent tarp, and then there is like all these different patches of different coloured skin on there, and then one of them is just a face with like holes for eyes and a mouth. And you're like, that's grim and grisly. Yeah, somebody thought about that. There is an art designer out there who thought, you know what, this will be really creepy, or this will be really disgusting, or this is similar to what I've made in my mum's basement. I don't know.
It's fair enough. It must be how the Torrents feel with people walking around in skins and leather all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, you can't even go there. Like, I don't understand how they exist in this world, how you can have cows walking about and then straight up still have Taurens, you know? I suppose that is not the main issue, but like I don't know, it reminds me of like Pokemon as well. It's like when somebody has a burger in Pokemon, are they just straight up eating the Tauros?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
famously, it's weird.
Famously, there were early on, I think, in the series, there are references to real animals, and we should have talked about this last week. Actually, there are references to real animals, and in the Pokédex, but also in some of the games, in the intros, there are just straight up animals walking around as well. And so there are some theories about how they all went extinct and people had to create Pokemon to fill ecological niches. But then there are some plant Pokemon, but then not all the plants are plant Pokemon.
No, I know, like people walk on grass. They're not walking on fucking Odysseys, you know?
Yeah. So the evolutionary, the phylogenies and genetics of the Pokemon universe would be quite interesting to have a look at.
Yeah, definitely.
Same as World of Warcraft. Like, are the cows and the Taurons, are they related at all, or is it just convergent evolution, or?
Well, I mean, because they actually explain evolution or evolutions within the World of Warcraft universe. Like, trolls are like one of the most oldest races. I think my English is bad there.
Mostest oldest race.
Yeah. Mostest oldest race on Azeroth. And so from there was a divergent evolution for the elves, which, they went off in one direction and became high elves, and then you had the blood elves, which are kind of high elves, and then you have the night elves, which also came from trolls as well, which is why they all have big long ears. And then the high elves, they became Nagas as well, so they're the weird fishy looking people. So there is like a lineage going on there, which is quite cool. There's also like there's a really cool geographical dispersion of the races as well, which is this is just something I only found out recently as well. This could actually be added to my list. Like, in Azeroth, there's two big lands. There is like the Eastern Kingdoms and there's Kalimdor. But they used to be united before in a sort of like a Pangea scenario.
Yeah.
And that's why there are like quests that actually link together, like from the southernmost parts of both continents. And that's why there's like troll architecture that actually you can see where the troll empires actually just all existed from and to, and that's why you can find some artifacts in one continent and somebody in the other continent. There is definitely a book, somebody thought about this. Yeah,
the biogeography and continental drift of the continents of Azeroth.
Although I have a feeling that the reason there are two continents now is probably because somebody got angry and split them in two. And that'll be a boss character you fight at some point.
Oh, really? Because what's in the middle? There's a thing in the middle, isn't there? Like a big
maelstrom. Yeah, that. So it's Naga people doing their things, and possibly an old god. There tends to be old gods in oceans. Yeah, like Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Right, what else did I have? There is... Oh, this is actually quite topical because TBC on Horizon and stuff like that. There's actually... there's a troll woman in Nagrand who is just kicking about there, and she seems to run a daycare. So there's kids sort of running about, and there's sort of like kids like being sort of looked after and all that sort of stuff. But it gets a little bit sinister because if you look behind the hut, there are cages which have smallish corpses or smallish bone piles in them, and she has a cauldron right beside her hut as well. And trolls are kind of known potentially for the cannibalism thing. So it's kind of like, oh, really? Is that what's going on here? And then you just got these like little kid characters running about, and you're like, oh, they're all gonna die and get eaten. Yeah. So somebody thought about that one.
Gross. Yeah.
Yep. Totally gross. And I suppose quite famously as well, we've got Karazhan, which is the first raid of TBC. It's a really cool raid, which is a sort of weird mix of like ghosts and creepiness, and then there's a big sort of demon warlord at the top. But this castle is full of sort of like Hogwartian style references and chess pieces that move by themselves and things like that. So it's quite cool, but there was a mirror version of Karazhan as well. So it was supposed to have like 2 wings, I suppose, where you would go up the tower, and then there's this sort of underneath cellar, which was supposed to be exactly the sort of same layout, except upside down. And people can glitch into the upside down of Karazhan. The upside down.
Yeah.
Is that what the Stranger Things thing was called? The upside down. Oh yeah, okay. So you could glitch into the upside down of Karazhan, and in there, people hadn't clearly, there had been some work done, because you go in there and it's just there's water, and there is big piles of bones, and there's also, for some reason, like people hanging but upside down underwater. So they're kind of like hung by the neck but floating upside down in there. And it's like, again, somebody thought, I'm just going to shove these in here for the time being. Why would you do that? That is but yeah, again, it's like Karazhan. I mean, you can look into this one, because like obviously there was a plan to do more with that raid. It was actually supposed to make it into classic or vanilla version of World of Warcraft, but then they started thinking, right, we're going to do the expansion instead. So I'm guessing part of it got abandoned, part of it just wasn't going to be, or it was just going to be too big. I don't know. But yeah, it's quite cool that, like, it is there, and somebody decided to fill it with corpses hanging upside down underwater. Which is weird. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sort of going to bring this to a little bit of an end, because there's other really cool things that I just want to just quickly touch on. There's a zone called Tanaris, which is right down the bottom, and it's all dusty, and it's a sort of desert environment, but you can go out and you can wander in that environment, and you can see footprints that have been left by other people.
Yeah. And
you can follow those footprints, and sometimes, like, you can't spend your whole time just grinding mats for potions or whatever. I just followed these footpaths, and they lead to like a pile of meat or some bones, or it's just basically people who have wandered in that desert and then just come to an early demise, and then there's no more footprints from there. And you're like, oh god, I just followed like somebody's corpse trail basically. But yeah, like there's never like an enemy there or something like that. It's just like, oh, okay, great. Lovely. And yeah, I don't think there's much more. There's tons more to find online. There's not much more I'm going to talk about. But yeah, like in World of Warcraft, there's so many references and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes it gets a little bit creepy, and you kind of have to look a little bit further than, you know, just the quest text, and you see like, right, okay, what are they implying here, you know, with this troll woman looking after the kids, and you know, like chunks of meat, you know, and a big cauldron. You're like, oh, okay, right, okay, she's eating the kids, lovely. Or like just finding out stuff like about Thaddeus just being made up of the souls. Like as you fight him, you see that he is like all stitched together, but then you realise he's been stitched together, you know, from many different, you know, innocents. Ah, Richie, I like when you make those air quotes in mid-air, or indeed on a podcast, nobody can see them, you know. Innocents. But anyway, and yeah, that's really just all I wanted to ramble on about World of Warcraft. Do you know any of these other kind of weird tidbits or anything like that?
There was isn't there a Statue of Liberty somewhere?
A Statue of Liberty? There's quite a few statues. There's a goblin statue in Booty Bay. I always sort of, I don't know, I pause whenever I say the name of that place, Booty Bay. It just feels like it's a website, you know, and a special website, you know,
like eBay for booty.
Yes, exactly. The Pirate Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, go on.
Okay. And then the other thing I like, as a big StarCraft fan, is all the StarCraft crossovers that you find in WoW.
Yeah, such as
is there like there's a couple of pets?
Yeah, so yeah, you can get the sort of, if you buy like the StarCraft battle chest or something like that, and pets really came in quite later on in the game. You can get like a little Zergling pet, or you can get a Hydralisk pet and things like that as well, which is quite cool. Those kind of crossovers exist, but I would doubt fit into the canon of the universe. Like you can also get like a mini Diablo and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I remember seeing is there's a picture of Sarah Kerrigan in what are the goblin flying things called?
Zeppelins.
No, they're shredders, are they?
Goblin shredders, really? Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, there's a little picture of the Sarah Kerrigan art.
Ah, that's quite cool that they put that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I really like those. Whether or not they're canon or not, I don't know.
I mean, yeah. Let's let it be. Right, yo. So, Farley.
Yes.
I heard that guy's a maniac.
Why? Why did he bite me?